Hello, everybody. It is me, HeyArcher. Welcome back to my channel if you're watching this on YouTube. However, if you are listening to this online on a new podcast forum, I want to say welcome. I am HeyArcher, and this is HeyArcher episode 185. Now, before you panic, again, if you're listening to this, no, you have not missed out on 185 episodes. You actually only missed out on 15 episodes, give or take. So I just want to intro real quick to this channel. I am just starting out on doing this on a podcast forum. Usually I do these on YouTube where there's video format to the audio. And lately I've been doing a lot of actual trailer reactions, reviews of shows, reviews of movies, that kind of nerdy stuff. But originally I started out doing the HeyArcher series where I kind of mixed all of that together. So I ended up taking a bit of hiatus from that because I just didn't know how I wanted to proceed with the show. However, I've decided that with YouTube being the way it is and how they keep changing terms and conditions and all that kind of stuff, I wanted to put this out on multiple different platforms so that way I can reach more of you listeners. And maybe at some point when YouTube goes away, if it goes away, at least you have me existing on other platforms where you could listen in on all the various reviews that I have. Now, the way that this show works, for those of you who are new, is I actually count the show backwards. And the original plan was that when I got to episode, 0, that would be my claim to fame. I have now made it onto the Joe Rogan podcast, and I'm big time. I'm Hollywood. Now, likelihood of that happening, probably not very high, but I like to aim for the stars, aim for whatever's beyond that, and just go for it. So what I did was I actually copied the format of a very funny and conspiracy theory type person. Well, at least he is to me. He's an MMA podcaster, MMA writer. He also writes for Ozzy, the website, and other sources. The one and only Eugene Robinson. He used to have a show. I'm trying to think of actually what it was called. Oh, Knuckle Up. He had a show called Knuckle Up, and he was doing it in a reverse count, where he would count down the episodes, and when he got down to, it was actually like a midway number, I want to say. And Eugene, if you're listening to this or watching this, please feel free to correct me. But he was counting it down, and at a certain point, it was for him to win the MMA Journalist of the Year. If he did not, he would set himself on fire on YouTube. Needless to say, Eugene did not set himself on fire. You would have got a lot of views, but we wouldn't have you, so it's kind of a catch there. So he ended up ending that show, starting a new show. The new show counts up. But in honor of that show, which I really enjoyed, I wanted my channel to count backwards. Now, once I get down to 0, I have no idea what we'll do from there. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But for now, since there are going to be a lot of new listeners here, I want to again welcome you to HeyArcher, where I actually want to cover a number of different topics. However, they will always be concentrated, I want to say, around the nerd world. Because at the end of the day, I am who I am. Maybe you are who you are. And maybe you are a nerd as well. Now, what I normally would like to cover, of course, movies, nerd, comic books, movies, TV shows, that whole stuff. But I put a poll the other day on Instagram. You find me on HeyArcher there. And a lot of people actually were asking about me talking about just dating, romance, living in this society as a nerd, and that kind of thing. So I figured why not reinvent this show and kind of talk about that kind of stuff. Now, what will be awesome is if you guys actually do submit questions or topics. Best way to do that would be on Instagram, HeyArcher. But if you're watching this on YouTube, of course, you can comment down below and I'll see those and write them down. But if you're listening on various podcast apps, I'm not sure if you have a comment section there. So, of course, youtube.com, you can just search HeyArcher. I don't have enough subscribers to have a URL yet on there. So just search HeyArcher. I'll pop up on YouTube. If not, you have Instagram, HeyArcher, Twitter, and Facebook. All of those are HeyArcher. So a lot of people have asked, for some sort of backstory to myself, how I came to be such a lovable nerd in Boston, but originally from New York. So I figured, why not? We'll do a HeyArcher story time in honor of the Kings podcast, because they have Kings story time on their show. So I born and raised in the Bronx in New York. Eventually made my way to Spanish Harlem post elementary and high school. And then, found myself in various careers that eventually landed me in Boston. But as a kid, one of the things that I always loved was things that were comic related, sci-fi related, but at the end of the day had some sort of morals to them, some sort of story they're trying to tell. Because a lot of times when you listen and watch all sorts of, comic book stuff and superhero stuff, the flashy things are what grab your attention, but it's really the heart of the series that kind of, drags you in. So one of the things that I always loved was shows like X-Men the animated series, Batman the animated series, Spider-Man, Gargoyles. Gargoyles is actually a show I'm rewatching right now. And at the core of all those shows, you had character development, plot development, that kind of thing. So growing up, those were kind of my heroes. I was an only child, so, I'm home by myself watching TV. Those are kind of my my friends, if you would. As sad as it sounds, but that was not the intention. Anyway, I ended up going to an all-boys school for high school. So where a lot of you probably, figured yourselves out in high school amongst aiming for whoever you're aiming for. I learned that once I got to college. So way late to the game on there. And a funny story, just to kind of tell you where I was at there. I actually, one of the very first times I hit on a girl was in some intro class freshman year of college. And since I went to an all-boys school, one of the funny things is I had to wear uniforms at all times, right? It was shirt and tie, pants, summer uniform was like a polo shirt. But once I got into college, now it was time to, dress however I wanted to. There was no longer the need for a set uniform, set haircut, all of that kind of thing. So I remember going to class and deciding to start growing my hair out, which I'd never done. And I kind of regret it. If you're listening to this, you're not seeing that I'm rubbing my head, but there's really not much there left. And so I grew out kind of like a little mini fro. It was me being rebellious. And I remember I was reading a Thundercats comic book, actually a graphic novel. And college was about the time when I started getting into comics and not just things that were on the, the TV and movie front. And I discovered graphic novels where, if you don't know, sometimes people call those trades. People are, I should say, these, the comic companies and whatnot, they will take a series of comic books, combine them together, and make one long story. So, for example, a popular one is the Batman Hush, right? They ended up making a movie about that recently, which was not that good, to be honest. But in Hush, you ended up having 6 or 8 Batman comics into one trade paperback, and you could just read the story front to back. So what I did in that class was I was reading a Thundercats one, because many of you probably remember watching Thundercats, but you don't remember the specifics. You probably just remember that it ended at some point. So I found that there was actually a series that continued after the show. So I was sitting in my class just reading my Thundercats book, and this girl next to me asked, hey, I recognize that show, or I recognize the cover of that. Is that cartoon I used to watch as a kid? So me, I'm like, first of all, why is this girl talking to me? Oh, wow, this girl's in the class now? I forgot. I'm not in an all-boys school anymore. And I got excited. So I was like, it's Thundercats. And, she probably said something along the lines of oh, that's cool, or whatnot. And I just went full nerd mode on that. And I was like, so what's happening now in the story is, insert the blah, blah, blah sound from the Peanuts cartoons whenever the teachers talk. And all she ends up doing is looking at me like there's worms crawling out my nose, looking to the front of the room, and then looking down. And I realized, oh, that's right. I'm not talking to some other fat nerdy dude. This is somebody else who's actually attractive. So that was kind of my like shell shock moment of, oh, I'm not in my nerd world anymore. There's actually a much bigger world. Unlike high school, college is most likely not going to just be Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Smash Brothers every single day. So that kind of started my whole, I have to figure out how to be a nerd in the real world type of thing, especially if you would assimilate in, if that's kind of the right phrase to use. But I ended up, I did that. I did college. I did community college. Ended up going into a 4-year school. As I mentioned, did a bunch of various careers, and that brought me to Boston. But throughout, I decided that I would always be true to myself and enjoy the nerd things that I enjoy. And one of the things I always tell people is do what makes you happy. So in my case, it's always been Star Wars, Marvel, DC, that kind of thing. And in dating, a lot of times you have to decide how much of that are you trying to show somebody, or how much of that is important in the person that you're looking to date. Because that's another fun topic that I would love to cover on this series. And that is, should you be looking for somebody who loves the nerd stuff just as much as you do? If you're listening, I pointed at my Black Panther poster behind me. So that's something that you kind of have to discover on your own, and there's no cookie cutter solutions to all of that. But it's something that I enjoy talking about with lots of people, especially as I, continue to date as an adult. And maybe you are listening to this and you're married, or maybe you're dating or whatnot, formerly married, who knows? But it's, that goes through a lot of things where you're always trying to figure out how much of something you love do you share before you start to become kind of that crazy person. So I look forward to kind of talking about that kind of stuff with you guys on this channel and on the show. So the next thing I kind of wanted to just cover briefly was, I guess, on the nerd topic. I wanted to just kind of let you guys know on the kind of reviews and things I would do on this channel. Again, welcome if you're new. So there's two things I enjoyed covering here that stray away from what I started on. If you have been a fan, I do 2-minute reviews and I do trailer reactions. Now, one of the things that I've noticed in life is that our attention span super low. If you've made it this far in this episode, thank you kindly. But otherwise, our attention spans are very low. So I came up with the idea, and it's funny, I saw somebody actually do the same thing, and I'm not sure if maybe I saw them do it first or if I did it first. All I'm saying is I have more videos on it, but that's whole nother thing. I came up with the idea of the 2-minute review. And in the 2-minute review series, is actually, people seem to like it. I'm thinking about actually uploading those on Instagram as well. So again, HeyArcher on Instagram. And I just take whatever it is, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a movie, and in 2 minutes, I try to give you whether it's good, bad, and the major component you should be paying attention to. So right now I'm about to finish the 2nd season of DC Universe's Titans. And an example there, it's a show, in case you don't watch any of these things, it's a show with 6 characters, but I focus mainly on the primary main character, Dick Grayson, when I'm doing the reviews. Now, on all of these reviews, I'm not going to go into details on the story necessarily or try to break down everything because, again, I only have 2 minutes. So hopefully, if you're looking for a movie or show, something you want me to review, I might have it on my channel already. If not, I would love the suggestions. Again, Instagram, HeyArcher, or on my YouTube channel. Leave a comment, and I'd love to review it. But something you can look forward to on that front, I'll be watching Working Moms again. I did 2 reviews, I believe, and people love those. So now that Titans is ending, I'll probably shift onto Working Moms as a weekly 2-minute review series until something else comes out. The other thing is, of course, trailer reactions. And the reason I like doing those is a lot of times there's way too much content being produced as far as movies and media. So by breaking down some interesting trailers, one specifically around the nerd stuff, it can potentially help you figure out whether something is worth your Friday or Saturday night. I used to actually do that on the topic of UFC fights, where I would break down an upcoming fight, let you know if it's worth your time and effort, and that kind of thing. But UFC being as stagnant as it is, I mainly will talk about trailers and things of that nature. But again, if you guys would like me to cover something else, that's where you can kind of jump in and let me know if the trailer reactions are not, the type of shows you want to. If I'm not doing trailer, let me backtrack for a second. This is weird. I have to admit, I'm trying to primarily talk to the mic, but then I keep forgetting I'm being recorded. So I'm going to stutter step a couple times here. But yeah, I would like to hear from you guys if the things I am giving trailer reactions to are the shows and movies that you guys are interested in. And if there's something in particular you want me to give a reaction to, please, by all means, submit that down below. But, hey, that's essentially what this show is about. That's essentially what this channel is about. And yeah, it's me and it's you, and I want you to be a part of the show. I hope that at some point I can have guests on the show. That would be great. I've done 2 guest spots on other shows, and they were fun. So I would love to do that on my show. Hopefully at some point I get a computer that allows me to create longer episodes and edit and all that kind of stuff. But for now, I'll use what I have. And, I completely forgot. I also started, but I ended a YouTube 101 series. So if there are YouTube, aspiring artists that are out there, I would love for you to check out my YouTube 101 series. I highlight some basic things that you would need to get started on your channel. There are other channels that are far superior to mine that will break things down in a way that I can't. But what I can do on my channel, of course, is, just be as simple as I can to show you the setup that I have, because my setup is very simple. And as you get larger and you grow your channel, you can, of course, find other resources that can go into far better detail than I ever could. But give that a look as well. Leave a like on that if you enjoy it. So I think I'm going to end the episode here. It was kind of just a refresher to the HeyArcher series. I'm hoping that you guys do submit some questions, submit some topics. I have some ideas for the next episode. I don't want to put a rock solid schedule on this show just yet, because as far as I understand with podcasting, you can post something online, but by the time it gets approved by the various sites, there could be a delay in there. So the current plan, if you want to stay on the latest episodes, do go to YouTube, search HeyArcher, subscribe to the channel. You'll find them there. But if you're listening to this, you will, of course, be notified when the new episodes post, either through my social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or just hit a notification for the app you're using, and you'll find out when new episodes come out. I'm hoping to do about 1 or 2 a week. Thank you to all my new subscribers. And if you have not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe down below. Hit the bell on the other end so that way you get notified when new videos come out. Up here, you'll see the playlist for all of my HeyArcher videos. And over here, you'll see the last video that I've actually put out in general. So give them all a look. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with your boss. Share it with Joe Rogan. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of HeyArcher. Peace.